Hello everyone and welcome back to the Little Quilter. Today we're going to be working on the Kite in a Square block quilt here, and we're going to be doing one of the different design ideas. So as you guys have seen, the design idea across this entire quilt has been the same, but I'm putting in 3 blocks that are going to be different just to give it a little bit of fun. You know, you may not really notice it unless you look closely, because I think at the end of the day there's just going to be so much going on that they're not going to be like these giant, like, whoa, what a change in the design. But it's going to be something that if you're looking at the quilt, you might subtly notice and then go, oh, hey, look at that. And then if you see one, my hope would be you start looking for the other ones, or are there other ones in there? So I'm excited to do this. I'll show you guys how I designed it in Procreate, and then we'll jump into quilting it. Let's do this. Okay, so you guys know how I've talked about how much I love the glide thread, and especially the Magna Glide bobbins, but you can have some problems with them, as with everything in life. And so I just wanted to show you one of the things that might tell you your tension is a bit off, or you need to change something that's not otherwise super noticeable. And the nice part is it doesn't, I think, overall really change how your quilt looks, but if it gets too out of whack, I feel like I have had some thread breakage when this has happened. So it's just something to take note of, and let me show you. Okay, so I was quilting along here, doing these sections here. These are actually my favorite part so far to quilt, is doing the diamond shapes and going through, because it's just so quick to do it. But the thing to note here is that when I stopped, what I noticed is actually the thread, and I'll put my hand behind it so you can see how it doesn't seem to be as well twined together, almost like it's unraveling. That's telling me that my tension is off, and I have had thread breakage from this before, and you can even see it up here. Let me see if I can show it. So you can really see it here, how it's like it's unwinding itself. And so you do need to make an adjustment on your machine. And so I'm going to make that adjustment, and let me see if that changes it, okay? Okay, so I've made the adjustment on my machine, and honestly I didn't tell you which way right away because I wanted to make sure that it worked out right. I thought that I remembered correctly, and I did. So I was right here when I made the adjustment, did this line and this line, and now you can see that that thread is looking so much better. We'll move around to this side. So when we look down here, you see the thread actually looks much more like thread again. And the way that I did this was I loosened up my thread. So on the King Quilter, when you go clockwise, oh, there we go. So when you go clockwise, you're actually tightening this down. When I'm seeing that thread loosening up, I actually need to go counterclockwise and loosen it up. So there you go. Now you can see that there's that little knob that's right there. Let me see if I can do this one-handedly. Okay. This little knob right here that will tell you how much you're turning it. So I usually only turn about 1/4 of an inch, right? So if you look at this as if it's like a clock hand and this is noon, when I turned it, it was probably at the 3 o'clock. And so I just did a little twist and then ran my machine and checked it, okay? And that fixed the issue that we were seeing with the thread looking like it was uncurling. Now, some of you guys may be wondering, oh my gosh, you've changed your tension in the line of quilting. Is that going to look different? And that's the great part, is that really I don't see any differences under this quilt that I've changed my tension. I just see the change in that thread, and everything else looks beautiful. Now, mind you, I am definitely using the same color on my top thread and my bottom thread, and I think that that really hides it. If I was using 2 different color threads and something very opposite, like a red and a dark blue, I think that you would probably notice something, but I've not actually done that with any of the Magna Glide threads because I've just been so happy with using the same color. It really just makes things a lot easier, and I'd rather worry about one side of the quilt than another. So if you're wondering about stippling, I don't know the answer to that. If there's any of you that have had this issue and were using different thread colors, maybe comment down below so we can see if anybody has had that issue and what you did to fix it, and that way more people will know, because I can't really comment on a change in the actual way that the thread looks on the quilt, which is a good thing, but it does change the way that the machine quilts, which is an important thing. So, all right, let's keep quilting. All right, everybody. So that went together so quickly that it has me guessing, should I have done that design over the whole quilt? Or at least the center design on the actual kites. Very happy with how it looks, even on those dark fabrics. I was a little bit worried with that yellow thread over those dark purple fabrics. Was that going to be too much? But I actually think it looks really, really nice, and I'm very happy with how it looks. So hopefully you agree and are enjoying me quilting through this quilt as well. So I know I didn't finish the bottom diamond on this part of the quilt, and that is just because of spacing for the railing. So I'll have to wind the quilt up to do that, but I have not yet completed the entire row of this quilt yet. So I can't quite move it up to get to that point because I've got to do a little bit more quilting. Those horizontal lines within each of the kites, they're a lot. It does take, they're a bit time consuming for sure. So this was very much a welcome break, and part of me wonders if I shouldn't have done the whole thing like this and then done the opposite where I did the swirls all in there. But you know what? I'm still okay. I'm happy with how it's looking. I'm excited to progress on through the quilt, and eventually I'm going to do another design on this quilt as well, so stay tuned to that. And for those of you interested in more of the quilt design behind this, why I did what I did, how I came up with it, all of those things, I do plan on doing a video on that. Not quite sure on the time frame for that, but it will happen, so just stay tuned. And as always, I hope that you guys have enjoyed this video. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time on the Little Quilter. Thanks.